And the banks put a brake on the foreclosures because they were under so much public scrutiny that they feared the public reaction if they rolled over all these houses. But now they see, number one, the Occupy movement is in the field, and the Occupy movement is taking up the foreclosure issue in a very serious way. Number two, they see that there are moves legally and other politically that will probably lead to major national legal decisions and or legislation to put a stop to a lot of their fraudulent policies. And when I say fraudulent, everyone knows about the fact that the banks, not being regulated, sold off a lot of the mortgages that they held to other investors, and so they illegally have foreclosed on many of these 12 million homes that they've already snatched, number one. But number two, they have become very illegal and fraudulent in their efforts to dispossess homeowners who they have often suckered into believing that they were helping to rewrite their mortgages. And they have found systematic ways to trip up homeowners in these programs and snatch their properties, because all this time they have been under very little scrutiny or control by anyone, and they've gotten used to it. And we're saying that that has to stop. You know, this whole process of dispossession of homeowners is nationwide and hits every community. But in particular, it hits communities of color. It hits communities where unemployment is already extremely high. It hits these communities with a far greater effect. Particularly in communities of color, the homes often were only acquired after several generations of effort to put together enough money to be able to afford to buy a home. And often against the strictures of redlining, which meant that often the family had to raise enough money to actually buy the house outright or close to do that, or have massive down payments in order to get into the housing market. The banks pretended, starting around the year 2002, that they were going to give people they had previously redlined a chance to own a home like anyone else. But the truth is that they were using that mechanism of opening up a broader range of people to purchase houses, actually to put pressure on the prices of houses, and it was only one of a series of mechanisms that were used to artificially inflate the cost of housing across the board. And that is why, once that bubble burst and the economy began to spiral down, the entire economy, causing a loss of at least 10 million jobs, the collapse of thousands of workplaces and businesses across the country and even globally. Once they found that bubble burst, the homeowners, those who they weren't able to outright dispossess, were then stuck with mortgages that were hyperinflated. And that is what they're still paying on all these years later. 5 and 6 years later, they're paying inflated rates, monthly payments on homes that have dropped sometimes by 50% or more in market value. This is a massive social crime. We are saying that corporate crime has reached such levels of outrage in this country that the citizenry has to organize itself now to demand, number one, that they be fully prosecuted. Every single one of them responsible for this mess needs to be prosecuted. Number two, the banks need to immediately stop this foreclosure process throughout the country. Number three, they need to help those who are still in their homes to stay in their homes. Number four, they need to be required to make restitution to those who they illegally and fraudulently did out of their properties and seized the number one thing that many families will ever have in their lifetime, which is a home. And all of this is about mega bucks. Mega bucks. And it's time for the buck to stop here, like at Wells Fargo. It's time for the buck to stop here at the State Building. And Kamala Harris has actually set a very good example as our state attorney general by refusing to be part of this national deal that's been negotiated at the hands, excuse the expression, of the Obama administration and others, to let the banks off lightly in this whole situation. That is not justice. That is not proper restitution. That is not a proper defense of the public interest by anyone. And until this situation is dealt with, we are going to be out here in the streets. We are saying, that when they say leave your property, do not comply. We say occupy. When they say leave, don't comply. We say occupy.
We say
Occupy. We say occupy.
We say occupy. We say occupy. We say occupy.
We say occupy.
And finally, 12 million homes is more than enough, and it's time for the homeowners to get tough.
Yes.
And our intent is to organize those homeowners as a constituency group.
Yeah.
We are saying hold on to your home, occupy your home, fight for your home. You have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. These issues caused a revolution in this country 200 some odd years ago. 200 and some odd years ago. And life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness are being denied to the mass of the citizenry in this country today, and it's not going to be tolerated. So, thank you, Carlos the Mailman, and others for pulling this rally together. Thanks to all the partners in our coalition that are coming together to fight this phenomenon. And thanks to all the homeowners like Ms. Parker and Berta Herrera and many others who are beginning to stand up and say that we're going to organize and we're going to resist this and we're going to stand up for our rights.
Thank you.
Now we have Cheryl with us.
Hi, I'm going to give you guys some statistics. Statistics aren't sexy, so I'll try to jazz it up. My name is Cheryl Eichle, C-H-E-R-Y-L, last name A-I-C-H-E-L-E. And according to Realty Track, 1 in every 5 U.S. foreclosures happens in the state of California. That's 20% of the foreclosures here in the Golden State. There have been 1.2 million foreclosures in the state since 2008. And within the 2.2 million are expected by the end of this year. Those 2 million homes are estimated to cost homeowners, property taxes, and local governments $650 billion statewide. The 5 biggest banks want to settle with the state attorney generals for just $25 billion. That's 26 times less than what it costs the state of California to deal with these foreclosures. Also, that's not including the property value loss that Quasi was talking about. In this city, in Los Angeles City, homeowners are expected to lose $78.8 billion in home values as a direct result of 200,000 foreclosures from 2008 to 2012. That's 3 times as much as the national settlement that these 5 biggest banks want to do with the state attorney generals. And LA property tax revenue losses are estimated at $481 million. The typical foreclosure costs the local government about nearly $20,000 each, and in the city of Los Angeles, that is $1.2 billion that the city has to pay for these foreclosures. And LA has nearly 80,000 homeowners who are underwater. That means they owe more on their mortgage than their house is currently worth, and they're underwater in the city of Los Angeles by $7.3 billion. And if the banks were to write down those mortgages, it would pump $780 million into our local economy, and it would spur 11,353 jobs in the city of Los Angeles. And like Quasi was saying, the African American and Latino communities have been hit the hardest. They are 70% more likely to be foreclosed upon than their Caucasian counterparts. And a July 2011 Pew Research analyst found that the income of African Americans, the median wealth of African American families has fell 53%. And among Latinos families, it has fallen 66% since the housing market had burst and the economy has gone bad since. And these are just the numbers of the foreclosure crisis in California and in America. These women behind me, Faith Parker and Bertha Herrera, are the face of those numbers. They're not just statistics. These are families, millions of families that are going through this. I thank you for your time.